yesterday. Well, it was 5:30. I asked the girls and the boys in the chorus if they were ready. They said no. It's still 5:30, so we will start. Thank you very much for coming. If you are interested, Northwest Television is here, so they will be videotaping the concert as well as the informational meeting afterwards. Just a reminder that there is a budget informational meeting after. We will allow you to leave. You're not held captive. That was a fear of Lynn's last year, and she's like, oh, when she walked in, because normally there's maybe, I don't know, half a dozen to 20 people. And when she walked in here, please tell me you didn't tell me all to be here. No, I didn't tell you to be here, but I would strongly encourage you to be here. The other thing that I just wanted, two things. One, make sure if you have a phone that it's on silent, please, just because it would be nice so we don't having that interruption. And also, we're going to have the chorus go first, then there's the little kids, and sometimes people like to get up and scoot out of here, and I understand if you have something, but it would be really great if everybody stayed. There's the creativity, the passion, the excitement that they get from having everybody here and applauding when they finish or complete something is just magical. And I remember back when I was only 6 or 7 years old. I didn't mean that. 6, 7, please. I see the 4th graders, 5th graders, what they're doing. Anyways, Miss Brown, are you all set with your kiddo? Fantastic. So without further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Allie and Dee so that they will welcome you all here tonight. Miss Mayo.
Good evening and welcome to our Ben's Winter Concert. I'm Allie.
And I'm Deanna.
And we will be your host tonight.
Please make sure your cell phones and printers are off, and since we're recording, please stay for the whole concert.
The concert will be about an hour, so please stay for a presentation by our superintendent, Lynn Coda, following the show. We're so glad you're here to support our musicians.
Concessions are available in the lobby. All proceeds go towards our spring musical.
This year we will be putting on a show, The Sound of Music.
Thank you for your continued support for our drama program.
Once your student has finished performing, they will join you in the audience to watch the rest of the show.
Starting off our concert is the Ben's Middle School Chorus. 6th to 8th grade students have been working hard singing together.
Please enjoy an English folk song with some 8th grade soloists, Pretty Little Baby, Danny Boy, and Can't Help Falling in Love with You. Enjoy!
Meet me at the car hop or at the pop shop. Meet me in the moonlight or in the daylight. Pretty little baby, I'm so in love with you. Pretty little baby, I said pretty little baby. Pretty little baby, I'm so in love with you.
songs. They've been working hard singing together and drumming.
Enjoy the candidates' folk song "Land of the Silver Birch," followed by Home by Philip Phillips.
Wait right here. Wait right here, miss. How are you feeling?
All right, ready?
Yeah.
You sing nice and pretty?
Yeah.
Ready? Land of the Silver Birch first. Okay?
Of course.
Pretty. Got it?
Pretty.
Ready?
Yep. Super. Looks cutie. I want to ride.
Ready? History?
Yeah. Get pussy home.
Here we go.
Hold on to me as we go. As we roll down this unfamiliar road. This way. I got to turn us along. Was that good, Mommy?
All right, so you're gonna go first. You're gonna lead us out, okay? So go ahead, go. You can come down the steps. Miss Ward's gonna have you guys back, okay? Remember?
Maybe you got it?
What did I do?
Seriously, so good. I love that song. Great job. That was so great. You all sounded wonderful. Take another bow.
Now, two students will go back to sitting with their classes for the remainder of the show. While we wait, do you want to hear a joke? Obviously, why did the student keep the saxophone in the snow? Also, don't recommend this.
I don't know. Why?
She wanted to play cool jazz.
That's great. Good, Wendy. We want to take a moment to thank many different students for creating these fancy decorations.
Their snowflakes are beautiful.
Please welcome our third, fourth, and fifth graders to the stage. They'll be singing Big Yellow Taxi by Johnny Mitchell first.
All right, ready? Okay. The yellow taxi. That's okay. That's just crazy.
Watch my, do you see that baby up in the crowd?
You got it. Here we go.
I'm sleeping here instead. I'm sleeping in my bed. Sleeping in my bed. Show me family, all the blood that I will bleed. I don't know where I belong. I don't know where I went wrong. And I can write a song. I belong to you, you belong to me, you're my sweetheart. I belong to you, you belong to me, you're my sweetheart. Take your right friend, take your blood light of benefit to the bus in Chinatown. I've been standing on canals, galleries. You're standing next to me. I belong to you, you belong to me, you're my sweetheart. I belong to you, you belong to me, you're my sweetheart. Oh, we need it now. Let's hope for some. Let's hope we're leaving now. I belong to you, you belong to me, you're my sweetheart. I belong to you, you belong to me, you're my sweetheart.
Wow, that was tricky. Great job, everyone. The following song is a fun flashlight dance for our 3rd and 4th graders.
While 5th graders leave the stage and everyone gets ready, you want to hear a joke from me? Sure I do. What type of music are balloons scared of?
Ooh, I don't know. What?
Pop music.
That was amazing.
Okay, we're ready for their song. 3rd and 4th graders have prepared a flashlight dance for you.
Yes, I love these performances.
Me too. Get ready for it to get dark in here. They'll be dancing to Rusted Roots. Send me on my way.
The lights will be going off in 3, 2, 1, now!
Make sure they both work. You have to?
How do you use these things?
Reach out my hand, oh, best tell, oh, best tell you run. The moment say when you're young. Well, pick me up, golden hand, oh, best tell, oh, best tell you run. The moment say when you're young. Well, I would like to hold my hand. I will cry. I would like to hold my hand. I will cry. Send me away. Send me away. Send me away. Send me my way. Send me away. Send me away. Send me my way. I would like to reach out my hand, oh, best tell you to run. What is it when you're young? Well, pick me up, go to her, best tell you to run. What is it when you're young? Well, I would like to hold my hand. I would like to hold my hand. I will send me away. Send me away. Send me my way. Send me my way. Send me away. Send me my way. Reach out.
That was so cool. Great job, third and fourth graders. That looked like it was hard to learn. Another round of applause for our third and fourth graders.
The last portion of the night is going to be spent with our instrumentalists.
Please welcome our beginner band with a few intermediate band members helping out. The whole fifth grade is participating in beginner band this year, and they have done an amazing job learning their instruments. They just got awesome.
After a quick warm-up, please enjoy the song Dr. Rock.
Just warming up first.
Nice job. While we transition to our final group, intermediate band, please enjoy a small clarinet trio. Alexa, Deanna, and Vesta will be performing
Calypso Morning.
Yes, good job.
That was so beautiful and sounded really great together, guys. Nice job.
The intermediate band will be playing 4 songs tonight. They have been working really hard to get these songs together, and some of them are quite difficult. After a quick warm-up, please enjoy the Lion Sleeps Tonight Yesterday, The Corral from Jupiter, and finally Power Up.
Your mom wants to take this because she didn't pay anything. I'll get back to you.
Warm up first.
Has to be for you. Okay, there we go.
Thank you for coming tonight and supporting our musicians.
What a wonderful showcase of talent, skill, and dedication.
Please stay for a presentation by Lynn Coda. Thank you for your attention and support. Thank you and good night.
We'll begin the presentation from Superintendent Coda in about 10 minutes. Feel free to stay. For those that stay, there will be pizza, entice you a little as you down pizza.
Hi, so we just wanted to thank you all for coming. I'm Arlene O'Rourke, board member,
I'm Audrey Shea, board member.
and turn it over to Kevin. Where'd you go, Kevin?
Oh, all right. Is this with you? Oh, all right. Well, yeah, I just want to say thank you very much for coming here and taking the time out of your busy schedules to just learn more, just to become more knowledgeable in what this budget means. And I can give you a quick update for us over the last, I got here in the spring. I started visiting. I think I spent 20 days up here in the spring, 2 springs ago. And what I noticed was that the teachers wanted to do really well. But there just seemed to be some hiccups in the way. And so we spent a great deal of time at in-service talking about what our North Star is. We want to make sure that we can ensure that all kids are learning at or above grade level. That's been our focus. When I got here, to be truthful, we looked at the middle school math scores, and there were only 3 kids that were proficient, the entire middle school. Is that because they weren't, or because they couldn't, or was it because of just a lack of focus? We don't really know. But I can tell you, we just did our STAR testing last week, and there are only 7 kids left to become proficient. So we moved the needle so far just from having that true focus about the direction that we need to go. I couldn't be any more proud of our staff. I couldn't be any more proud of students. They are, what I like to say, they're doing their job, right? We hired them to do something, and they're doing it really well. Students are doing their job, which is they're going into class. There's not this nonsense that you might think of, that you might hear about in the outside world. You hear the media, they're like, oh, the kids are different. Our kids are focused. They're focused on what the outcome of what we want, which is we want to make sure that all kids are learning at or above grade level. And our teachers have that mindset, our students have that mindset, and I couldn't be more proud of this community as a whole for the support that they've given us as a school. So, further ado, I will hand it over to Superintendent Lynn Coda, who will, and with our business manager Morgan, to share with you this upcoming budget. Thank you.
I'm mic'd, we're good. Thank you. So thank you for staying. We appreciate it. Some of you are familiar faces. I heard someone say you're the people that stay each year, and we very much appreciate that. You always ask us really good questions. Our Chief Financial Officer, Morgan Daybell, and I are going to do a run-through of our budget, and we're going to also talk about some of the context of Act 73 and what's happening at the state level. Morgan, I'm wondering if you would like me to advance slides.
I can do it, but you're up on that. I'm just going to try to see if I can get it bigger.
Okay. So we have a lot to celebrate in FNESU, and I hope most of you have the annual report. It will be in your mailboxes. Could be as early as tomorrow, or certainly you'll have it by early next week. So some of the things that we had to celebrate this year, this guy right here looks familiar. He's sitting right back there. Nathan Bates was named FNESU's Elementary Teacher of the Year. We're very excited about that. One other thing, We've really invested in arts, and we wanted to bring arts back in FNESU. And Bakersfield has something to celebrate. They had a performance last year, Beauty and the Beast. We put that on our celebration. We have a lot of schools that are starting to bring more of the arts back, so we're really happy about that. And there are a lot of other things that we're pleased about, but those are specific to Bakersfield.
There's a bit of a lag, but we're back up.
Okay. So here's our district at a glance. So our district on this side is called the Northern Mountain Valley, a unified union school district. We have 4 schools. Those are our pre-K through 8 operating schools. So we educate those pre-K through 8 students, and then we pay tuition for the 9 through 12 students, and they have choice for high school. So you could see we kind of have them in order. So Bakersfield, we did it by school colors. You see the enrollment for each of our schools. So Bakersfield, maybe we didn't do it by color. Yes, we did. Sheldon Elementary, 325, Bakersfield, 138, Montgomery, 174, and Berkshire, 194. So our enrollment numbers are holding pretty steady in most of our schools. I know that there's a little bit of worry because people are talking about scaling the system in Vermont. And one thing I just want to point out is even though we do have some small schools, we do not have the micro schools that they're talking about throughout the state. So when we looked a couple of years ago, there were around 75 schools that had fewer students than our smallest school in FNESU.
So this chart coming up will show the enrollment for the district by school. The first 5 years on this chart are the 5 years that we've just completed. So this is the current year here. And then we have projections looking out 5 years. So you'll see that overall, the district is planning on experiencing growth kind of most significantly right now in Berkshire and Montgomery. Sheldon pretty flat, Bakersfield a slightly more level trajectory, but a trajectory up. And it's important to keep this in context with what we're seeing as a state or what we're hearing as a state. Statewide, we are losing students. It's very significant in the southern part of the state and in the eastern part of the state, Connecticut River Valley. That is not the experience of Franklin Northeast. It's not the experience of NMV. It's really not the experience of Franklin County and Chittenden County in general. But it is taking up a lot of the oxygen in the debate, especially as we start talking about what the future of education is going to look like. When you vote at the annual meeting, the first 3 articles are there to elect the officers of the district. So there's a moderator and a clerk position, and then there are 3 school director positions that are up. There's 1 representing the town of Bakersfield. Arlene O'Rourke is running again. We believe she's unopposed. Berkshire and Sheldon, there's nobody who has filed, so somebody could run a write-in campaign for either of those seats. They would need to be from Berkshire or from Sheldon, but everybody in NMV gets to vote for all the seats. So don't just vote for Arlene, you can vote for all of those. The next article on the ballot is kind of the big one. It's the one where we are looking for authority to spend almost $25 million to run our 4 schools and to pay those tuition payments for those kids who are in high school. The ballot language includes translating that into a per pupil spending amount. We'll talk about that later. Northern Mountain Valley's per pupil spending amount is projected to be just over $11,500, which I have higher. I think we actually, well, the tax rates have dropped. So we're going to show you a graph a little bit later about where we are, kind of pole position in the district. 11.5 is actually quite low compared to our peers in Vermont. Lynn will talk briefly about the goals.
Do you ever leave out home without your computer? I did that today, so I have a little cheat sheet. I'm trying to remember which slides are mine, so please bear with me. In FNESU, we have been focusing on the same board goals since 2022. We've put some really intensive focus into these. Improving academic outcomes at all levels has really been a high priority. In particular, we want all students reading on grade level by the end of 3rd grade, so that's something we're working very hard on. We are also leaning into, as our world is changing around us, how do we prepare our students for a really different world of work? And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So we're really working on the skills that our students need to succeed once they graduate and enter college, career, and life. And we're also thinking about what are the skills that our students need to be successful humans, and that's something that we're really emphasizing is how students practice the skills that they need to be successful. Some of the ones that we're really working on are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, adaptability, responsible decision-making. So those are all pretty important skills for life, and they're also very important skills for being successful in the workforce as well.
Wait for it.
So I will just out myself. I'm not the youngest person in the room anymore. When I went to school, it was the 1970s. And when I was in school, the skills that we were working on were different than they are now. They were very solidly focused just on academic content. So it was mostly math, reading, writing, science, social studies, speaking and listening. So when employers were looking for the skills that they wanted in their workforce, those were the majority of the skills. They really were focused on, are people competent in these academic skills? Our world has shifted. If you think about the last 5 years with artificial intelligence, AI, we are seeing it in everything we touch. We don't even realize sometimes how AI is impacting our lives, from our social media algorithms to when you're sending a text and it finishes it for you, or when you're typing an email and it does the same. There are all kinds of ways our world is changing. And the jobs that we're preparing our students for, they don't even exist yet. So we can't prepare them for those specific jobs, but we need to prepare them with the skills that they'll need to succeed, and that's something that we're working really hard on. This is from the World Economic Forum, the Future of Jobs survey from 2024. And they took a look at what are those, they surveyed employers, and they took a look at what are those skills that are most important when you're looking for workers in your company. And the top 5 are analytical thinking, resilience, flexibility, agility, leadership and social influence, creative thinking, motivation, and self-awareness. The rest are similar. These are the skills that can't be replicated by artificial intelligence. So we need to really be thoughtful right now, and we need to really be pivoting. We need to make sure that our students have a very solid foundation of literacy and of mathematics, and we have the other contents are still there, and we need to be making sure that they're graduating proficient in these skills too, so that they can be adaptable for however the workforce evolves during their lifetime. So happily, that data has been holding firm for the past several years, and it aligns with our portrait of a learner that we've been working on for about the past 5 years. So these are the skills, the characteristics and the skills that we want all of our students to graduate with. So we want our students to be financially literate. We want them to be able to be independent decision makers, information savvy, creative thinkers, contributors, emotionally intelligent, and trustworthy. And the skills that are under those will help them to be adaptable and employable, however the world may change. So we are feeling pretty positive about the ways in which the work that we are doing here is aligning with the research that is coming out of the job market. The reason that we're doing this, this is really hard work, it's complex work, and it is work that there's a groundswell of this kind of work happening across the country in a pretty rapid way. And the reason we're doing it are in these 2 pictures. Our students deserve for us to be really looking forward, so that we are really adapting the way we are focusing on teaching and learning, so that they can be really successful when they leave us. So that is exactly what we're doing.
So as we build the budget, there are several considerations that we were taking into effect this year. Again, the increase, keep in mind, is just over $400,000 for the general fund budget. And again, that's covering all 4 of our schools and our high school tuition payments. We have an overall staffing reduction of about 6 full-time positions. These are all positions that we have not been able to fill or that have become vacant in the last 6 to 12 months, and we've decided we don't need to fill them. So that's helping drive down the budget, but we are seeing a tuition increase of about $250,000. We have a big 8th grade class coming in, a small senior class coming out. For those of you who were here last year, I said the exact same thing. It seems like we're kind of beyond that big difference, but that is sort of the reality of a district that doesn't educate all its students. The Montgomery Elementary School bond is paid off, which helps a little bit in the budget. The Bakersfield one, I believe, will be the next one paid off in maybe 3 to 4 to 5 years. We're also bracing for cuts to federal funding. We do not know what's going to be coming down from the feds. As anybody who's watching the news can certainly understand that. This year we have 3 full-time staff who are paid out of federal grants. In this budget, we've moved 2 of them into the local budget to try to protect them. They're interventionists, counselors, folks that we feel are critical, and we don't want to risk losing them depending on what comes out of Washington. We are also, as a district, expecting PCB remediation in Berkshire and Sheldon. We do not have anything in this budget yet. We've been doing some work, doing some testing. We're keeping all of our receipts, hoping that the state will pony up some money in the future. But right now, there's no good news on that front either. Montgomery and Bakersfield were both built recently enough that we didn't have to test them, so we don't think there's going to be a risk there. But certainly, Sheldon is a big question mark in our minds still. I won't go into the details on the staffing changes tonight. I will say on our website, which is linked in the annual report, which you've got with you, it'll be hitting your mailbox. That's on our website as well. We go through all this budget information in excruciating detail.
Can I just say, if you look at the annual report on the website, all the links are live, so you can click into all of those if you really want to go into the extra details of the report.
Yeah, and I'll just say, specific to Bakersfield School, there were a few shared positions with some of the other NMV schools, and after talking with Kevin and staffing changes in those buildings, we decided they were not needed. Quickly, the budget that we were asking you to support is broken out 2 ways here in the next 2 slides. The section in red is the money that we spend on our own people. So half of our budget is on our staff. Almost the other half is what's called purchase services, and almost all of this is tuition payments. There's some money that comes to the supervisory union, and that's also paying for staff. That's paying for your food service workers, it's paying for your special educators, it's paying for a handful of other staff who are deployed out to the schools. We kind of put this up here to highlight the fact that this first line in green is what we spend on stuff. So that's paper, crayons, the light bill, the fuel bill. And so as people, I think, unfairly attack school budgets and say if you only bought your crayons in bulk, you would save a whole bunch of money. We're talking about this 2.5% of the budget, and we actually do a pretty good job of the other green part of the bond payments. Another section we don't really have any control over. We also break up the budget based on what we do with the money, and so the section in green, 2/3, is kind of traditionally what we think of as schools, teachers in front of kids in classrooms. Your tuition payments are part of that as well. The sections in blue are all the things that we do to support education. So that would be your guidance counselors, your nurses, your technology folks, professional development for teachers, your 4 principals and their administrative assistants. Again, a section on the supervisory union, which is food service, special ed, some of those intervention as well. Next section is maintaining our 4 buildings, and then a small slice for transportation, and then again a teeny part for the bond payments. So again, this is really the business of what we do as a district, and this next section is really what we're doing to support those teachers and those kids in the classrooms.
Is that me? Okay. So you've seen this visual before if you've come to a budget meeting. So the lines reflect the weighted per pupil spending for every district in the state from the lowest to the highest in the state. So what this call out here, this white box, is this bottom portion of this data. So that you can see the bottom 2 lines represent our 2 districts. So the lowest line is the Enosburg-Richford district. The line above that, which is right here, is our NMV district that we're talking about tonight. The red lines on the big graph represent where other Franklin County schools are. This first line is an average of the Franklin County per pupil, and this is what the statewide average is. So as you can see, we're substantially below the state average and substantially below the Franklin County average. That being said, I'm going to talk about this in 2 ways. There's a substantial difference between what we are able to spend per weighted pupil than what some of our neighbors nearby are able to spend, which makes it extra complicated when it comes to staffing. And we have worked really hard to be able to up the salary with our staff members, both our support staff and for our teachers over the last almost 10 years. And we don't have the same capacity as a system that is funded that much differently than we are. So some of the shifts that are happening at the state level could advantage us in that realm. So it might be a way that we could keep our teachers and be more competitive in terms of salary. So I also want to make sure that we're doing a lot with not a lot of resources here in Franklin Northeast. I'm still very proud of the work that we're doing in all 9 of our schools, in the 4 in the NMV district, and I think we're still doing a good job with the resources that we have for our students. One thing that you should know about us is that we hustle for opportunities for our students. So we might not have it in terms of what we're able to draw down from our approved budgets, but we have people that go actively pursue competitive grants. I'm just going to give you a couple of examples of that. So the most recent, we have a lot of our funding for our LEAPS after school program comes out of grant funding. Our most recent LEAPS grant came this year, and it was $533,000 more that we could put towards our LEAPS programs. And this was a smaller grant, but still a competitive grant. That was the Educate and Innovate Grant Award that comes out of the Vermont Lottery. 2 schools in the state received that. The Enosburg Middle High School received that grant. And last year, our NMV schools received that grant. So 2 schools last year, 2 schools this year, and we were in it both years. We're very proud of that. The other thing I will say is that when we had the opportunity with the ESSER funding that came from the federal government, we really leaned into thinking about this is an opportunity we don't really have to invest in innovative practices with our students. And one example of how we used that money was at Enosburg High School, we created our first robotics team, it's called. This is something that happens really across the country, and this is something that we wouldn't have had the opportunity to invest in before, but we were able to strategically use that money. Our students competed for the first time last year in 2 separate competitions. And if you have the opportunity to go into the web version of this annual report, at the very bottom there's a link, and it shows you what those kids did. They had to build and program a robot to do a specific task. And the task is not released until a couple of months before the competition. And this is something that happens where teams work together to compete against other teams. So they're all working to improve each other's robots. It's really a fantastic example of innovation and teamwork.
And a great contrast to those of us who spent those years trying to remember our times tables.
Yes. So one thing that became really clear to me, I have a superintendent advisory team, which Ellen actually sits on now. And in our last superintendent advisory team, became really clear to me that I thought people understood what a supervisory union structure was, what it meant. And I don't think everybody does. So I'm just going to give an example of how we are different than our neighbor next door, MVU, and it has to do with our governance structure. So we have two separate districts. We have the Northern Mountain Valley, this district that we're talking about, and these 4 schools are together because they educate pre-K-8 and they tuition out their 9th through 12 students. And then we have the Enosburg, Richford, all of those schools are together because they educate pre-K-12. So they're different, they can't be under one board. So that's why we have to have a supervisory union board that these two are under. Okay, so it's a little more complicated. So that really means we're 3 separate employers, we have 3 separate budgets, we have 3 separate audits. There's a lot of other complexity in there too, but that's really it in its simplest term. In Missisquoi Valley, on the other hand, they all feed all of their students into their one high school, so they get to be a district. They're a supervisory district, so they have one board, and it's very simple in terms of resources and staffing. They can deploy based on need, and they only have one employer, so it's a lot less complicated. It's more complicated for us. But we have not let that keep us from being creative, and this is another way that we really are hustling to stretch every dollar. So we look at all the services that are in our schools, and in the past, we would have said we need interventionists or instructional coaches in our school, and every school would have tried to hire an interventionist or an instructional coach or an emerging multilingual teacher if they needed it. So we would have had several of those across the system, and we would have had very little flexibility if those needs or numbers changed because they would have been working for separate employers. So what we do instead now is we look at the whole system and we say we're not going to hold those contracts at the district level anymore for those examples like emerging multilingual services, instructional coaches, tech integration, special ed food services and facilities. We're going to hold those contracts up here so that we can then say what are the needs and where are the needs, and then we can deploy that way. And it's much more financially efficient to be able to do that. So we took the barrier away by putting the contract at the highest level. We've had a lot of people have some misconceptions about the alternative programs that we run in FNESU. We have students in schools everywhere that have needs that are more intensive than what could be met in the general ed classroom. So in the past, those students would have gone through all the services that we could possibly provide and then get to a place where you have to make the painful decision that the needs are too great for the school and they might go out of district to an alternative placement. So when our students were going out of district, the cost is very, very high. So we took some real-time data for tuition to out-of-district programs in the area. Those cost between $100,000 and $150,000 per pupil. When you send a child out of district, you have to transport them there, and the costs for that transportation range from $40,000 to $60,000 per pupil. So we decided to not do that way anymore. Part of it was out of necessity because there was almost no availability after COVID. So we built our own programs. They're all located in Enosburg. 2 of our programs are focused on supporting students with intensive developmental disabilities, and our other program is focused on students who have intensive behavioral challenges. So we're doing this at a cost of this year's cost is $47,000, and next year's projected is $60,000 per pupil with no extra transportation costs. We have 2 vans, and that transportation and all of the associated costs are woven into this. So we're doing it for significantly lower, way less than half of what it would cost to send our students out. And we think they're getting better services, and we're able to return them to the general ed classroom much more regularly than we would have before.
So I'm going to quickly walk people through tax rates and how they're calculated. And again, all of this is laid out in more detail on the files on the website for both districts. We are asking, again, the voters for approval to spend just under $25 million. We know we will have about $100,000 in grants, interest, other little streams of money. And so the amount of money that we need, the amount of money that I'm going to tell the state after this budget is approved, I need you to send this to NMV, is just over $24.5 million. That $24.5 million, about a quarter of that comes from residential property tax. Of the remaining 3/4, maybe half is non-residential tax and half is from things like sales tax, rooms and meals tax, lottery, Medicaid. So to get to a tax rate that you would see on your residential tax bill, the state is going to take this $24.5 million and it's going to divide it by this weighted pupil count. So we don't actually have 2,000 kids that we're responsible for in Northern Mountain Valley. It's closer to about 1,000 kids. But we get extra weight based on some of those qualities of those students. So the state knows, or the state believes, that kids who are coming to schools living in poverty cost more to educate. Kids who are not hearing English spoken at home cost more to educate. And so we get a bump up for those kids, and that helps to drive down our education spending per pupil amount. That's that 11,585. It's actually a 1.1% decrease over last year. There's a typo on that earlier slide, which is why I stumbled over that. So that 11,585, that's the number again on that statewide chart that we use to compare ourselves to other districts in the state. The state will take that figure and divide it by what's called the property yield, which is a number that the legislature will set in June. And it's a figure that they use to make sure that they raise enough money to send it out to all the districts based on the budgets that are passed. So we won't know what that number is. We and most districts in the state are using the number that's brought out by the tax department on December 1st, based on what they think is happening in terms of education spending. In this case, it would end our district level tax rate at just under $1.31 or 5.5-cent drop. Right now, we think that this yield number is going to go up and the tax rate's going to go down further. So the numbers that the legislature is looking at as of last week, as of earlier this week, would actually bring this tax rate down another 7 cents. So in a scenario where I don't often get to give good news, we think there may be some good news coming on that front. A big part of that is the $75 million that the governor is proposing to use to buy down tax rates. That's a kind of 1 year kick the can down the road. But it seems like we kick the can down the road every year in Vermont, so why not another year? We take that district level tax rate and we have to apply it to our 4 towns by what's called the common level of appraisal. And this is a number that the tax department calculates, and what it's trying to do is to make sure that everybody across the state is paying their fair share based on the property value of their home. They know that property grand lists, some have been updated recently and are more accurate than others, like Bakersfield. You're going through a reappraisal now or soon, or it's just done, but it's in process at some level. And so those different CLAs mean that towns spend different, have different tax rates once it's calculated to that level. You'll see in Bakersfield, it's $1.5343. Right now, almost a 10-cent increase. Again, we think that's going to come down with a new yield. But compared to certainly Berkshire and Sheldon, that CLA is pushing that tax rate up because your grand list is so old. kind of give another visual of that, in Bakersfield, if you see the number $200,000 on your property assessment for your home, the state thinks that you could sell that property for $333,000. Whereas in Sheldon, if you have a $200,000 number, they think it's only $303,000. So about a $30,000 difference between those two towns. Again, Bakersfield and Berkshire are kind of in the middle of the pack. Montgomery got hammered this year. The real estate market's different there. And Sheldon had been going up for a while, and that seems to have leveled off in that community. You can see a graphic representation of that. Bakersfield is in red. And what I'll say is that if the appraisal is finished and sent to the tax department before the tax bills go out, we will expect this red triangle to drop pretty significantly. Depending on the timing, it may be next year before you get that benefit. And we say benefit because the tax rate's going to go down, but that 200 number on your property tax is actually going to now say 300 or whatever it is. So you're still going to be taxed at the fair amount. What we're anticipating is that if you pay based on your income, and that's anybody with a household income below $115,400, in all 4 of our towns, you're actually going to see a tax decrease. If you pay based on the full value of your property, you're going to see a tax increase, and it's going to vary depending on the town that you live in. Again, this is assuming that December 1 yield number, which we know is inaccurate. We just don't know how inaccurate yet. Then I think you can start on that.
So you've heard a lot about Act 73 in the news, and there are several factors, several different elements in Act 73. One thing that is included in the bill, or actually in the law, is that they're working to create statewide graduation requirements, and those will be evident to us by July 1. I believe it's 27. I think we have we'll double check on that one.
Okay.
Also, we've never had a statewide school calendar, and that is something that you would think wouldn't be that difficult, but it is actually really difficult. We worked last year as superintendents across the state to get closer to that, and we aligned on most of the dates, but definitely not all of them. So that's something the agency is responsible for doing by July 1, 2028. I will say as a superintendent, I will not be sad to have to do calendars anymore after that. They also, part of this law was that there was a limiting of the number of schools that were eligible to receive public tuition dollars. So those dollars are intended now to remain in the state, and we went from having a lot of schools that were eligible to receive it to a significant decrease. And I think it had to do with what percentage of students they had enrolled last year that were publicly funded. So that made a lot of schools ineligible because they were under that threshold.
And they've also restricted it now to in-state schools, and we've historically sent a lot of kids out of state or out of country.
Yeah. I think it is the class of 31. So it's a ways out still. So they're trying to imagine it, and part of the discussion has definitely been around the skills. It's just a matter of how they're going to align those skills. So now the agency has made their recommendation, but the state board ultimately is who is going to decide that. So they're just now getting into starting to receive testimony on that. So another big part of Act 73 is we now have class size minimums across most all levels, and they made these specific to age groups of students. So for example, we have to have a minimum of 10 students in each of our first grade classrooms, 2nd through 5th grade, 15 students in our middle school, and 18 students in 9 through 12. There are some exceptions to that. Some of the AP courses and some of the courses that require you to use, you had a good example of the type of equipment that you have to use in classes. Some of those can be a little smaller. The agency is working on clearer guidance around what those mean in terms of some of those exceptions. I will say this is a big deal because this is when people talk about Act 73, they talk about getting to scale at the district level. So shrinking down the number of central offices, the number of superintendents, the number of business managers. Morgan and I have both testified in the legislature that we believe that there are too many districts in the state and that we should be working to get to fewer to get to scale. The reality is that's phase one of this work. And we know that when you think about this, there are going to be schools that can't meet these expectations. They also have another piece in class size minimums that you cannot merge more than 2 grade levels together. So if you're doing a multi-grade classroom, you can have 3, 4 together, but you cannot have 3, 4, 5. So not more than 2 grade levels. You have to meet these minimum standards. They pull that right out of our Power School data. And if you don't for 3 consecutive years, there are some regulatory consequences that are built right into the law. And those include requiring technical assistance from the agency, adjusting supervisor union boundaries, so moving places around that are too small, assuming control of a school, closing a school, or requiring district consolidation. So that already exists in law.
So then do you see more of the schools, or Kevin, more of the classrooms in Bakersfield being combined like our current 4 or 5 with the numbers that we have?
I think you are pretty good in most cases here. When I looked at the numbers last year, that was the one area where you just had 2 back-to-back really small classes. Do you want to?
Yeah, we average 11 per class.
So if you're looking at 2nd through 5th grade, 11 isn't 12.
Right. They have to figure that part out in terms of will they step in and do these if you're one off. We don't know the answer to those things. That's all still has to be figured out.
You know, you're one move in, right?
I mean,
Or you're one move out and now you're a 9. So
I really like what you,
tricky.
I mean, from what I've seen kind of almost from the outside, what you're doing with the 4 or 5, it really seems like you are wrapping around with some of the other services, and it seems to be working. There's an empty classroom. It allows for breaking, you know, so that the 4th and the 5th grade are together some of the time, but not all the time, and you have one teacher with some supports in there. So I think there's some creativity just as a grandparent in the community, and I see, you know, some really small class sizes coming through. It just makes me a little anxious.
Yeah. We'll need to be flexible in that way and try to be creative with those numbers.
And I would say flexible, but remember, we have small schools, but they're not Vermont small. There are many systems that are much smaller than ours. I had an opportunity to present to new principals a couple weeks ago. And there was one of the women there was principal of a school somewhere in the Connecticut River Valley, and I was talking to her afterwards. K-8 school, she had 1 pre-K kid. So if, let's say she has, I don't know, 50, 60 kids in the entire school, 1 pre-K kid probably means that her biggest class is 8th grade and they're on their way out. And so those are the folks that I think are really going to more immediately feel this.
I got to spend my day with all of Vermont superintendents today, and another example of a school of 26 students was brought up. So very different than the numbers we're contending with.
Yep. So most of the press around Act 73 has been around these governance changes. In theory, when the legislature leaves this summer, they will have drawn a map of larger school districts and put that into place to go live by 2028. Last year, they'd actually created a task force to draw 3 maps for them so they would have a starting point on doing that work. The task force took a pass on doing any maps. They didn't pass any maps. They did some drawing, it's true. So the legislature is really struggling right now, and nobody wants to put a map on a table. And so it's really hard to imagine that they will get out with anything, despite the governor offering up $75 million in buy down for them to implement Act 73.
And he's actually basically said, you're not leaving this legislative session without a map.
So in theory, we have a map. The new school boards would be elected in November of 2027. We don't know what those wards would be. So if you think about, if a new district is just NMV and Enosburg Richford, they take FNESU and they make us one district. They're also going to look and say, okay, we want Bakersfield and Sheldon to have 2 seats and Montgomery and Richford to have 2 seats, and do it that way. Enosburg, Berkshire have 2 seats or something like that. And then again, going live, running schools on July 1, 2028. So you think the board's elected in November, they get seated in December. In January, they start their superintendent search because this is a brand new entity. By March, April, they hire a superintendent, and that superintendent has to be running schools in 2 months. I think if it goes anywhere, I plan to agitate against that timeline. I do think this is the direction we need to go, but this is, in my mind, totally unworkable.
We did that today, just so you know.
Yeah. Along with those governance changes is a change to the funding formula. So when I walked through that tax rate, the first part was, what do the voters approve? And in Vermont, we're the only state where you guys can approve whatever you want, and the state is obliged to come up with the money for it. So if instead of 25 million, you want to spend 25 billion, the state's going to figure out a way to come up with that. It's going to be through your taxes, but they still have to come up with it. 48 other states do it completely oppositely. They say, the state will say, you're going to get this much money per pupil, however they define pupil, and you have to live within that budget. They all have some version where if you don't think that's enough money, maybe you can go to the voters and get a little bit more. In Vermont, it seems to be they're going to allow us to go 5% more. But if you think about where we are on that chart across the state, if they go in the middle, it's going to be significantly more money than we've ever been used to spending.
It'll only come down to the middle though, the number of schools that are all the way at the top, that they'll fight to drive that number up even higher than the middle.
Are you suggesting there might be some politics involved in this?
There's a lot of that. A lot of politics.
Especially if they can only go 5% over whatever that number is.
Right.
If they're going to lose by 30 or 40%,
Right.
then they will only lose by 20.
And they also tend to be the districts that are losing students, so they're also facing those headwinds as well. Just the loss of kids makes it more difficult for them.
And that's something I think it's important for us to acknowledge. It's not always that they have all of the extravagant bells and whistles. It's that they're contending with fewer students, and their costs are just much higher because of that.
Yep. This is all contingent on those governance changes, so them drawing a map and districts being live in 2028. There is some discussion in Montpelier, I think by folks who really wanted the funding change and really see where the governance change is going, to pull that out and just continue on with the funding change. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and stay tuned. Again, it would definitely benefit our community. Some other minor changes. The first one, they're changing how that income sensitivity piece works, but they are keeping it. And then they have also split the non-homestead list. So they are now tracking businesses versus second homes versus rental properties versus camps. We think with the idea that down the road they're going to say, well, we need more rental property in Vermont, so we're going to keep that rate a little bit lower than businesses, and we don't like the Airbnbs anymore, so we're going to raise the tax rate on those, as an example. There's no numbers to that or no talk of that yet, but they are definitely setting themselves up to be able to do that in the future. The second money article on the town meeting warning is asking for permission from the voters to take the money that was left over at the end of 2025 and to put that into a capital reserve fund. We have done this pretty consistently over the last, every year that we've been unified, and most of the individual town districts prior to that. Not a lot of money last year. We budgeted very close and we got some capital projects done under the wire. So not a huge dollar amount, but I'm hoping that the voters will support that. And then finally, in Bakersfield, town meeting day, you vote at the town hall starting at 10 a.m. until 7. Early voting starts on February 11th. That means that you can go to the town clerk and vote in person. You can call them and ask them to send you a ballot. You can take a ballot away and mail it back. Be aware of the problems that we have with mail these days. Nothing gets anywhere in a day anymore. You can also register to vote the day that you do vote. So I was talking with Richford High School and told the kids if they're turning 18 on March 2nd, they need to go down March 3rd and register to vote and vote.
Are there any questions for us? Jess?
Be willing to answer this, but do either of you or our principal have any predictions of what the map might look like that would impact us?
I can
List about your superintendent's meeting tonight?
Predictions?
Well, I think that he and I work on predictions all the time. We're constantly trying to figure it out, and you tuned right into there are a lot of political powers at play. So we have seen some maps, and there's a large number of people who are trying to advocate strongly against this and to protect choice, particularly in the areas that are closest geographically to the 4 historic academies. So I think that power dynamic, we're going to see a really big push for there to be some advantages for those private academies. I think that in the law, it says districts of between 4,000 and 8,000. It says a combination of supervisory unions and districts. Vermont Superintendents Association has been very clear in advocacy that we want them to take more of a research-based approach. So VSA has given clear guidance that the research actually shows districts of between 2,000 and 4,000 can get you to scale and efficiency. And there are several other recommendations that were made, including focusing on school districts, not supervisory unions. I don't know if people did maybe not understand the complexities of SUs before, but certainly we could be more efficient and it could be easier if we weren't doing everything in triplicate. And I have a colleague that actually, we have 3 board meetings that we contend with each month, and I have a colleague that contends with 17 a month. So that level of complexity just is a lot of redundancies.
Yeah. And I don't think there's agreement in the legislature what those numbers are. So if they say it's 2,000 students, then it's Franklin Northeast, one district, they're done. If it's 4,000, we kind of know we've got a partner next to us that has another 2,000 kids, and they're done. And if it's 8,000, the partner to the south of us with 4,000 kids gets swooped into that. But I think the real battle is going to be around supervisory unions and protecting tuition. And I would say the field is pretty unified in saying supervisory unions make no sense. And the Senate seems pretty unified in trying to protect that for those independent schools that are benefiting from it.
Ellen knows why. Any other questions? Thank you all for staying tonight. We really appreciate it. We'll hang out if you think of any questions. We hope that you will encourage your friends and neighbors to come to one of our other budget informational meetings, or maybe watch this online, but certainly show up and vote on school budgets. Thank you, everyone.